Lovely fish, we get them every day. In Jimmy, around the water side. Lovely fish, we get them every day. So if you wanna get your bonga fish, you better take a walk to the water side. So if you wanna get your bonga fish, you better take a walk to the water side. Can you meet around the water side? Lovely fish, we get them every day. Can you meet around the water side? Lovely fish, we get them every day. So if you wanna get a bonga fish.
Good evening, folks. Samson to LIBERIAN Public Radio. I want to thank you very much for joining us again this evening. Hopefully, very shortly here, we will be joined by some of the young dynamics in our community. A very interesting one here tonight. I hope to be joined by Cece, George, and Jonathan will be my guests here. All three of the intellectual young people will be here so we can have some conversation. Safety, Lord Jesus, we want to thank you again this evening for bringing us together. Lord, we ask you to continue to protect us, to continue to bless us. But my Lord, you are the only one that we can run to whenever we need help. And my Lord, you know we all need help. And we ask you to continue to bless the community, bless the leaders in the community. My Lord, you know those of us, the Liberian diaspora, we have two tables. One here, we put food on the table here, and we also put food on the table back home. My Lord, we ask you to continue to bless us, give us energy, give us the strength to work for two tables. Jesus, with your power and your mercy on our side, we have nothing to be afraid of. I want to thank you again this evening. As we sit here now to open our mouth, my Lord, give us the wisdom. Make sure what is coming out of our mouth tonight is something that is worthy for anybody to listen to. Guide our tongue of what comes out of our mouth tonight. As we discuss about our brothers and sisters, thing that is affecting all of us as Liberia. Bless her, give us wisdom. Bless the country of the United States. Bless the country of the Republic of Liberia, and bless our leader. Give them wisdom to do what is good for our people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let's keep going. Thank you, folks. Samson to LIBERIAN Public Radio. Hopefully, my guest will be here very shortly. But in the meantime, let's talk about other issue here. There's a good reading. Front Page Africa has some serious reading article today. One of them is it's unbelievable. It's like they pack all the Christmas package together and deliver it today. Public Works Minister say the issue of the road is not bad construction. The issue of Rawafi Highway construction is not bad. It's not bad construction. It has to do with the fact that climate change is affecting the delay. I don't get it, but I will deal with those later on. I want to thank you. Let me see now if I have my guest with us here this evening. And let's see if we have the guest in the background. Okay. Let me bring the first guest here. Sissy is with us. And of course, our own man, Jonathan, is also here with us this evening. Good evening, gentlemen. Can you guys hear me? Thank you. Okay, we're hoping that Lobo will join us here very shortly. I hope that he will be with us here. But if not, we have the ability to continue, and we'll just improvise, and we will provide for him things that we think he needs to say, and we will carry it from. If he's not here, we gotta tell him what we gotta say. What we think we want him to say. That's all it is.
Josh Lobo is going to come.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned that we extend an invitation to a CDC.
Their position. I don't know anybody to extend that to, so I left an open invitation at the bottom of my post. It's clearly stated any sedition, intellectual sedition, that have the ability to hold his own without insult, you're welcome to join us. It's not late yet. Anybody, you give me a call, I put my phone number, then you give me a call, we'll send you the link. And while we're waiting for Mr. Lobo here tonight, and I'm not too sure, perhaps Lobo has been warned very strongly not to join us. So maybe he's not coming. Yeah, because I mean, I have experienced the way these people do business. I have. So I hope you will join us here and not just waiting on when people start the conversation, then you jump in. So let's, but in the meantime, we're not going to stop the show. Thank you, Sissy. Thank you, Jonathan, for joining us this evening. I hope Mr. Soul, if he's not busy, hopefully he will be able to join us here as well. But let's go on. The rule, if Lobo joins us later on, I will also state the rule again. The rules here tonight, it's not so much of politicking as opposed to you young people, the country, the life, the future of this country, pretty much in your hands. And I just want to pick your mind tonight, but I didn't want to say it the last time. Perhaps I will have put you guys in a position of intellectual, what do you call it, sojourning, let's put it that way. But I don't want that. I wanted to surprise you guys. So tonight, we will use language. I will try to avoid language such as lie, you know, those kinds of monotone language that does not describe people effectively and wonderfully, let's put it that way. You can use the word playing with the truth. You can use the word, you know, he's, you know what I'm talking about. Those kinds of clear cut, those things we want to try to stay away from it. And Lobo, if you're hearing, I sent you invitation already. I don't know how else to contact you, but let me do one more thing here. I got his number, and let me put it on the house PC here and let everybody, because when I call him, and the entire people, anybody that is listening to me will know that I'm calling Lobo, and they will hear the phone ringing and will know.
A troublemaker, I swear.
I mean, the one part that you myself we agree on something that hey. You can't come and say
Lobo is a very good intellectual. I think he will come.
Yeah. I know, but in the meantime, we set time, and Lobo better show up tonight, because if not, the liberal is here to help him out. So let me call Lobo, folks, while we waiting.
I just like to say very quickly why you calling Lobo. I guess
Please.
The phone will be ringing when you answer. Well, I will stop wherever he pick up his call. But I'd like to say thanks to LPR, for creating this platform that had the opportunity to interact with Sissy.
Hello, you reached the voicemail of George Lobo. I'm sorry that I missed your phone call. Please leave me a detailed message.
Just hold on 1 minute, sir.
I definitely will be able to reach out to you. Thank you and have a great day.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Okay. Goodbye.
Okay. So you see, we did extend invitation. In fact, he invited himself pretty much. And based on the interest, we decided to put this together. So let's go ahead, Jake.
Let's presume positive intent. He hopefully will.
Yeah, that's what I assume. It's just unfortunate that the mailbox, so it's filled, he will not be able to see. But again, thanks to LPR and thanks to Sissy and wife who, welcoming for the first time seeing one another. And I appreciate it so very highly. And, it was beyond bound. And I appreciate it. Today,
Jonathan.
Yeah,
you went over there, Jonathan. You went over there. Say, all the Kisali and Pamada. You call my name. You know me. That now you know me.
By the way,
now you come to say.
By the way, the man came to the hall. The man decided he wanted to call people food. So that real oil suit the man ate.
Look at that one there. And the man he invite me or he even call my name to say he know me. Now we call the platform and come and say all the Google thing. Janitor, I beg you.
on a serious note, though, you know how you meet people and you really don't know them, but you start having these intellectual conversations, and then you feel like you've been knowing each other for a long time. You know, Jonathan came over, and as God would have it, he and my wife graduated from the same university, members of the same student political party at AME, and both of them are staunch supporters of commies. So, you know, in this lifetime, it goes to say you treat people nicely when you meet them because you don't know how you guys are intertwined. And the man came to my house, him and my wife now knew they had history from AME university days. So it was a pleasure having you over, my brother.
Yeah, I
I
appreciate
just
it.
hope next time you can launch over here so we can spend the whole night drinking. We can have the video to put out for the liberal to see.
I know.
Thank you.
And important again, labor, very quickly. I may not end today with you people. That's why I thought to come soon because I'm already hopeful that my brother, and I stay positive, like Sissy said, that maybe he's got one or two, he will come on, George Lobo, so that we'll have these civil exchanges for the good of our country. My son turns 12 today. The birthday celebration will be ongoing. So I will be here and I'll be living around the neighborhood at 6:30 our time here. So
you'll be here until 6:30 tonight.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. While we're waiting for Mr. Lobo, let me just tell you guys my experience about an hour and a half ago. So I'm from Toll Town. My son was born 1980. The hospital in over there in Basel community. What's the name of the hospital again? That's not Saint. What's the name again? The hospital maternity center.
Maternity center.
Yes. So my son was born over there in 19. Actually, he's my brother's son. But he never saw his father. He doesn't even know his father. He was about 6 months old when his father got killed. But anyway, long story. So during the war, I left him with my mom and my dad, and I came over here to struggle and all that kind of stuff. During the war, 1990, I went home. I got him, brought him over here. When I went, the day that I got in a village in Toul, which is outside of Tulople, he had gone dog hunting with his friend. He was only 10 years old, but he had gone in the bush for almost 3 days. He ended up all the way between Nima and Ivory Coast at that border area. And he was able to find his way back. But anyhow, he came, I brought him over. When I brought him over, stayed, so I explained to him. There's only two of us here. At that time, Canton, we only have 2 Liberians in the entire city of Canton. I told him, 2 of us, the only Crown people here, let's speak the dialect so that as you grow up, the thing will stay. He said, okay. 6 months later, he couldn't even go through with it anymore. A year later, forget it. So, but what I want to say here is, up to 20 years or so ago, he couldn't look you in the eyes to talk to you. He won't even shake your hand when you're talking. He's bent his head. And that used to bother me too much because me and his father were not like that. So for me, I said, okay, what can I do? So a friend of mine told me, he said, put him in the army. So I put him in the ice cream to join the army. He was happy to, because he was out of high school, he was happy to join the army here in California, join the army. But overall, in the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, we never really got along. Because there's certain thing I wanted, and he, as a grown man, was not quite ready. For me, I said, it doesn't matter how old you are, you're still mine for life. So today he called me. We don't talk much on the phone. He has 4 kids now. We don't talk much on the phone. So he called me today, and he spoke to me for about an hour and a half. And some of the things that was coming out of this young man's mouth, if I were to close my eyes, you would think you're talking to either, what's his name, Malcolm X, or half of Martin Luther King, all on American politics, that is. The sad thing is, me being a liberal, and he's too far right for me. He was just bumping it out. I mean, we'll get into the Roe v. Wade. He talked to me about the Constitution, about Roe v. Wade. As a liberal, this is that's not something I should do. What I just simply told him, I said, "Well, you're not a liberal." He said, "I know that." I said, "But you're a MAGA." He said, "I'm not quite there yet." So I said, "You're getting there." But the point here is for my son, the kid some time ago that couldn't even look at you in the eyes and was what to hold his own for that long. And I asked him, "Can you join me sometime on my show?" I just want people to listen to him. People to listen to him to see what I'm dreaming or not. The kinds of thing they bring, he has his degree and everything. Like I said, married, doing well in the army, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. But that wasn't the point. I want him to have big mouth. And he demonstrated that today. I just thought that I showed that. But anyway, Lobo is not here yet. Let's go ahead. Let's start the show, guys. So the reason I'm asking you guys to be on here tonight is this. I want you, two of you, let us have a conversation about how do we engage Liberian politics from your own perspective. What are some of the things that will be healthy in terms of Liberian politics? Let's start from there, and then we can roll down the other side. Sese, we'll start with you.
Thank you for having me on. And for full disclosure, I do support Tiawan Gonglo, and that doesn't mean I hate any candidate. I think Alexander Cummings is a very decent man. He is a decent son of the Republic, and Liberia will be blessed to have him as president if he were to win. I also think that VP Boakai is an elderly statesman who has given a lot of his lifetime to service. I'm not one of those who think that serving in government for 43 years is a bad thing, because if you understand service in government, most times people do it as sacrifice. It's only in Liberia that people do it to sacrifice the poor. So when I see somebody who served 4 decades plus in Liberia to the service of people, I think that person has a heart of gold. I also do believe that Dr. George Manawia is one of the proudest sons of Liberia we've had. He's one of those people who have had a chance to demonstrate his patriotism and love for country. And on the stages of many stadiums, he wowed the world. He brought Liberia to the map in so much so that you will go to certain corners of the earth where people don't know Liberia. The minute you say Liberia, they say George Weah. He allowed us at the time a different channel to flip from the wars that were going on to something nice, to believe in ourselves. And he did give of his personal self, and he did sacrifice for the good of the Republic. And so I think all of these people are wonderful sons of the land. And I want to start the conversation by saying that I appreciate the art of them. I might not be in support of the all of them, but I do respect what they bring to the table. And I think it is only fair that we discuss our differences, because everybody in the race to become president in Liberia all believe that they can move Liberia forward. There is not one person in the race that wants to enter the race to move Liberia forward. We just disagree on the way and the process to move Liberia forward. So we all love Liberia. George Manawia loves Liberia. He's proven that. Ambassador Boakai loves Liberia. He's proven that. Mr. Cummings loves Liberia. He's proven that. Tiawan Gonglo, my candidate that I support, loves Liberia. He's proven that. I think in order for Liberia to win, in order for Liberia to gain, we have to approach these conversations like, I'm campaigning for Tiawan Gonglo, not necessarily campaigning against George Weah. The fact that I love Tiawan and I believe in his philosophy and his ideology does not mean I get to disrespect the president or the presidency, or disrespect Omer Boakai or what it means to be an elder, or disrespect Mr. Cummings and what sacrifices he put in to climb the corporate ladder. And so you ask the question, how do we move this conversation forward? Is to first start by respecting and self-reflecting on why are we on these platforms? Why am I supporting Tiawan Gonglo? And me supporting Tiawan Gonglo does not mean that I cannot believe in the goodness of other candidates.
Okay, Jay, go ahead. How do we do this?
thanks so kindly, and Sissy, for being open with your conversation in such an honest manner. I think we can hold this kind of conversation, firstly being honest and genuine about where we intend our country to go forward, how we intend it to go forward, avoiding the different personalities from what they offer, and redirecting, what we have to offer from an alternative agenda. And if we keep to the core of the conversation in such a manner, I think we avoid the slander and the names calling and the bad muffing and bedevilment of personalities. I think that would be key. And so we have to see one another first as Liberians who have been there somehow, some way for our country and our people. We are not measuring the degree at which each of us have served. It will be an absolute advantage to each of the personalities. But we are trying to see what we have not done differently over the 175 years that we can do differently. And it pains because our neighboring country, they all have opposition. They have people who are contesting for power, but they have something they call win-win in leadership. When it is collective for the interest of the country, they all galvanize around it. When they have to provide alternative direction, they all go separate in a political party, trade union, in different organizations. And that's how a country like Nigeria has survived, with hundreds of tribes, huge landscape, huge religious difference, Ghana, Guinea, and many other countries. So I think we can borrow the good aspect from them and try to adapt it back home than this propaganda warfare where you want to tear the person down, you want to break them down, even if they offer some objective direction for our country. So I just think we got to be respectful of one another, and then we got to be honest with the conversation about our country moving forward.
Thank you, gentlemen. I too agree with you that this perhaps is the most important thing we have to do. Is first of all is to listen to each other and respect each other's view. We don't have to agree with it, but in our disagreement, we can do it with respect and responsibility. Now, let me ask you this, and I know all of you, so young that some of the things that I'm going to be talking about, unless the only reason why you would know about it because you guys are a learned and a rare person. So I'm not that surprised. But in the during Tubman and Tuer, that Tuer election, Tubman went ahead and decided to convince the crew people that Tuer was not a real crewman. He was some sort of a five seaside crew, they call it. And some of the educated crew people, according to the story, bought that idea and decided to campaign against that tour because they believed that he was not the real crew as they believed they were. So this is not something new for all of us. But what I'm trying to get from both of you here tonight is, even if you go on the social media, as long as we're not condemning and castigating each other here tonight, our viewership might not even go as high as we like. So the question that I have for both of you is, how do we convince our brothers and sisters to understand that in order to disagree with someone, you don't have to insult them? What are some of the processes or processes that perhaps you guys will envision or try to put forward if you were engaging any of these people for them to understand that your kinds of debate?
So I like to approach this as an educator, right? we have to first go to the genesis of how we got to this kind of way of talking at each other, because we don't talk to one another no more. We talk at each other. When I disagree with you, I talk at you. And I use very demeaning language as a way to express my feelings. That is not traditional Liberian. Look, I don't know about the both of you, but even though I grew up in Monrovia, back then the school calendar used to be such that school closed in December. And so my father made it a point that every year, December, I went to Lofa County. I went down to the village. And even though I was small to make farms, but we would go to drive the birds. And we'll get up early in the morning. And we'll walk at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I will go and listen to, in the evening, to my grandparents and my uncles and older cousins say stories around the fire hearth. And we learn how to not talk to people who are older than you. You know, you said a story about your nephew, and I was thinking, because traditionally we are taught not to look in the face of your elders when they're talking to you. That was a sign of respect. It didn't matter whether the person was your parent or not. The fact that they were an elder and older than you in the community, they automatically assume the position of their parent. I remember police would whoop me, and then I get when they can't tell my stepmom, and she beat me, or tell my dad I got double trouble. So we learn how to talk to elders and to one another. Where did we borrow this thing from, Mr. Toll? Where did we borrow this thing from? That when I disagree with my brother Jonathan, instead of me telling him, yo, man, I disagree with you, what you said is not true, and let me tell you the facts, I automatically go to calling him names. That is not Liberian. And I want to challenge anybody who is an authority on Liberian culture to come and tell me how this became Liberian. I didn't remember this. So all I can say is this is a borrowed tradition. And anything that is borrowed can be gotten rid of. So now the question is, how do we get rid of it? Now it is upon our shoulders. We who call ourselves educated. And when I say educated, I don't mean in Western education. When people ask me, when you look at some of my CVs, I write there that I am a proud product of teachers. That my grandfather was a teacher because he was a Zoe. He was teaching the Poro Society. That's a Poro school. That was a university for men. And so when I say education, I'm not just talking about Western education. I'm talking about education as in being enlightened. It is upon us to teach our generations, whether above us, below us, or horizontal to us. That means people we are equal to, or people we are older than, or people that are older than us, and try to teach them what are the cultures, what our ancestors and our forefathers and forebearers and foremothers stood for. And we can still disagree. I still disagree with President George. We are on so many issues, but I would never dare disrespect and insult the presidency. I disagree with my brother Jonathan and some issues the ANC run, but I would not call him or Alexander Cummings out of their names. I know I have my share of disagreement with the Unity Party and VP Boakai, but by God, that is my uncle. I have to be mindful in the way I express my disagreement. I think we have to start doing that, because what happens quite too often is the adults, the educated ones, we who are the talking heads on these platforms, the children are watching us, the younger ones are watching us. And when we come on these social media, all we spilled out is abuse, is insult. They copy that. They follow us. And so your question is, how do we start? I say it starts with the media. We have to start reporting truth, and reporting truth in a way that doesn't bring harm to other people. And we have to start with us. Right now, we got over 100 people watching us. On any given day when we're on this platform, we got over 400 people live watching us. It starts with us to model their behavior.
Jay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for referencing D12, back in history.
I am here. I am here, the liberal. You thought I was incoming. I am here. The guy been playing with his cow tail with the hope that I won't show up, and I told you I wasn't going to show up, and you think he's just going to come. Go ahead, Goya. I'm here, liberal. Unfortunately, you have no control.
No, Jonathan, go ahead now. Go ahead for the West.
Okay, Jonathan,
right
go
now
ahead.
for the ANC.
Thank you, Mr. So. Welcome again.
Thank you.
How do we convince our audience, Liberians, of the name calling, the bad muffin, a bad start of politicking, and reverse to a more decent way of holding conversation that is void of disrespecting people? I think that just comes from the background of the agitation. So if you look at the history between Tottenham period to that of the oratory of Totboy, you will see in between there where Dietware coup was being defined to that of 1980. You will see the level of agitation. And so by 1980, the Congo people and those who were referred to as the oligarchy were the people. That was the kind of time that you had a hyper militancy where people were expressing in a very vocal manner. So up to the Charles period, and it just expanded and be self-read. And when people get short of ideas, and it compounded the whole conversation. Like you said, if we are on a platform and we are not condemning one another, and it is more of education, the people who are following will start to draft as compared to when Dolake is defending his AMC and Sisi is defending Councillor Ganglo, my uncle, and maybe Labour is having some side with Ambassador Bwaka, and then every attention is focused on George Weah. Look, people can even be doing their clock in, and at the same time, they will have the earphone in their ear and they'll be listening. So, like Sasa said, it will take education to get us away from that mindset to a more productive mindset that we can express our opinion, we can disagree, and also agree. I mean, just by respecting one another. So I believe that people do these things for political maneuvering. One, two, people do these things because they want to put the public into agitation mood, so that they move with their agenda. And they are all about a situation movement. It has no long lifespan. It's just about the time.
Mr. So let me say that. Let me ask you this specific one then.
You don't even want to welcome me. Why you want to ask me now?
Mr.
Everybody
So,
was gracious to me.
good evening to you as well.
Oh my goodness.
First of all, I want to thank you very much for coming in because Lobo have failed us again.
You
Lobo
fail us.
Yes.
You fail us.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. Lobo, and I will take on to the media later on to say to Lobo that is unacceptable. You can't get, and these are people, young people that were hoping to go and lead Liberia, and you can't even keep your word to a little platform like LPR, where you came out here publicly. Well, that's it. We're public. You know me, I'm a liberal. I don't.
Look, look. You see, this is where we don't get along. It is unacceptable, and I will not sit here, Goya will not sit here, Jonathan will not sit here for you to demean Liberia public.
No, it's not that. I'm saying what my point here is this.
Hold on.
All right, okay, go ahead.
I know there's a little frustration in you. You brought your partisan, George Lobo, with the hope tonight to think that he was going to come and run over here. It's not late. The program is not going anywhere. But I can tell you, we are not little. We are of a mighty.
Okay, all right. I know where you're coming. Let me ask you a question. I will leave it alone. But first of all, before I do that, let me just welcome the former president of the Liberian community here in the Sacramento area, Madam Washington. Good evening. Thank you for watching. Let me ask you, Mr. So, this LPR business we do it, my own idea, running here, but it's your career because this is what you studied in school. This is your life. And so this is very serious for you, and that's why you get angry with me sometimes. If I start poking fun of your career and say, "Oh, I'm going to do that," So I really respect that and I appreciate that. But what I want to ask you is, as a Liberian journalist who has done so many work. You went home, interviewed people everywhere. What I want to ask you is, how do we, or how do you, the journalist in Liberia, try to see reason for your article, your lecture, whatever that it is that you're talking about, to be taken seriously by Liberians? And how do you also avoid the pitfall of people thinking that you're taking side? Whereas if you speak the truth, what is happening, whoever have done good and you say that, and people accuse you of taking side. Whoever have done wrong, if you say that, people are taking you of taking side and becoming somebody else against that person. How do we eradicate those? Well, not eradicate, but how do we try to lessen those things so at least our brothers and sisters can see that your professions mean well for the Liberian people?
All right, deliberate and gentlemen, good evening and thank you as usual. This is a commitment. This is something that we sign off out of our own relations. And Madam Washington, I will say thank you so much for even giving us that's a digital way of another way of supporting this network initiative. I think I had the privilege with the ULAT folks to either. But coming back to the questions, it's such a volatile and consequential questions, considering the polarizations of media, the divisiveness, how politics is being divided now. So it is difficult. That taps into people's perceptions of what you say. But what is key in this profession is making news proportionate. You have to be balanced. You have to be fair, balanced. You have to get at least 3 sources. You don't just grab news and say, oh, I'm talking something about Jennington, something about Sese, especially that has to do with his character, integrity. Before I discuss it or before I go further to expand on it, I have to place a courtesy call to Sese. Hey, this is what I'm going to be talking. This is XYZ I've heard. And we will be having that conversation. But we will also give you the opportunity. You'd never see me when I'm on this network, say having Jennington as a guest. And Jennington says something about Sissy. A professional person, what you do is to take note, because you don't want to create a conflict in talking point, because everybody going to be in their position to defend their character, defend whatever position, political side, whatever beliefs that they have. So when Jennington is on and Jennington says something about Sese, he says, oh, okay, let me grab Sese because emotion takes you away. Samson told, you see, this is how you liberal guys behave. What are you doing?
This is a liberal state. We're having a heat alert. So they just went on everybody's phone in a liberal state. That's what we do. We care for our people.
The people. The planet, their own planet.
That was an alert. But go ahead. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Okay, he alert that your total gun on you. You will take it all agenda before the show ends. Okay. So like I said, I will not allow emotion to take me away, because I will want to get more information out of Jennington, what he is saying about Sese. And so after that, I will be able to give Sese the opportunity to also come to say, hey, I need to talk to you. This is XYZ. Is it happening today? No. But the citizens also, they are responsible, because they find this media thing that is so enticing. I have my side, you have your side. So I don't care how much truth that I say, what are data, facts, anything that I display, as long you are not within that, as long you are not within that sort of understanding, or you are not part of that sector, you will never agree with me. You will never agree with me. And then the media has become more or less entertaining. People love to and don't get me wrong, there's an entertainment aspect. It also constitutes as part of the media work. It is part of it. But we have to focus on the substance. So you find out nowadays, people become selective. Politicians are being successful to drive it. And I will always say this here, because they are inserted themselves into the media talking point. Why? Because they want to they want to have narrative of the talking point, And this is something that their base love to hear. So if you come here and if you don't take side, the group on X and Y, they will never be part of you.
Mr. So, I don't mean to interrupt, but I will hope that you'll be on a standby, because I just got a message at statewide message that there's a possibility that it might have to power interruption may occur unless So it's right now it's 100 almost 110 degree here. So that's why my little water I brought is already gone. So I hope they don't do that, but there's a possibility that we might have a power interruption here. I just wanted hopefully if that happens and I'm not able to come back on, that you will be on the standby to carry it. You go ahead and finish your point.
You ain't got taco generator. I can bring them from like bro for you.
Yeah, so look, it's a difficult thing. Poverty comes in. The media, especially in third world country, not Liberia, is heavily compromised. Those guys is like one of my professors said, you want to be a rich man, don't be a journalist.
Thank you.
It's a sacrifice. You see, those people going in war-torn country is because after those stories, before they can get the pay that they can really get. So think about it. I used to go to press conferences. Not late. What am I saying late? Louis Gaula Brown, the former Minister of Information. Guys, when I used to be going there, I used to like literally go passing. I have no business going through Cinco area, but I used to like when I drive and go around, pick those guys up to carry. Can you imagine someone's living from Bannerville, Painesville area, journalists, and some of them walk, take bike, stop them to City Corporation, City Hall, and then walk down to Ministry of Information and going to cover the press conference. Tell me, for God's sake, if he or she has some sort of a news dent on CC, how can he or she report that? You go into a press conference, you don't know how you even want to get back home. They're looking for money to the media institutions. They don't have the resources. It's not like here. People they're not taking pay. They're not getting, even our own guys are there. They are volunteering. So, I mean, there are a lot of factors involved in the compromisings of the media. But yet and still, there are some good ones there who is keeping, still hold the ethical values of the industry. But it's sad thing about it, because of the proliferations of these news outlets, it has overshadowed it. So it's a challenge.
Thank you. I'm glad you were buzzing out. Let me ask you this question here. I know Cesar is going to be leaving us here within another 30 minutes or so. But let me ask this here, and I'll try to punch as many questions as I can here. And like I said, the reason of doing this here tonight, if my voice is a little bit different than usual, because for me, this is very serious business to have these young people on the platform discussing the future of the country. Let me ask you this, Jonathan. What really moved you? First, let's talk about your own involvement into Liberian Valley politics, and then from there we'll channel it to a specific area. What really moved you? How did it come about? When you went to school, did you decided at a very early age, I'm going to be part of this political machinery? Why didn't you go into engineering? Why didn't you go into lawyering? I mean, it's not late yet, but I'm just saying, how did you get into getting involved into Liberian Valley politics? Let's start from there, from a general, then we'll narrow it down. You need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. So, generally, it started during our days in the refugee camp. In our refugees days in Ivory Coast, and when we were going to school. But then I had a teacher called Edward Mongrou, who used to teach English. And Mr. Mongrou had a book called Moja. And I started to read about different sort of things, the engagement of the progressives at the time, and we started the debate component with the late May so rest in peace, Vanny Passaway, who was press secretary to Charles Taylor, and at the St. James Catholic School. So when I got to Monrovia, And I had a debate posture in me, and then it became explosive from Carabafte, then to St. Peter's Lutheran, where I had my instructor, J. Kakra Fode, who was then chairman of SOUP, and secretary general of the New Deal movement. And so, and then he had a party on campus called Student United for New Era. And then I said that I knew him because you were a friend of my brother, Egon Tingman. And I said, I will win your party. And the first year, I entered the 11th grade. I couldn't win. The next year, I won as chairman of the party with appointing Andrew Wamplo, who was the then passport director, who was fired. So then it grew more and more. And when I got to AME University, I played different roles, but then it had Star Radio. We had one of our colleagues in the school there. He would come with a microphone and interview the students. So all the book were learning now were just putting it in the microphone. And so I was then in Unity Party, for Sodium moving here and there. Went to the convention, the Three Party, as a delegate, 2009. And then after 2009, I saw some crack in the system. 2010, 2011, gave the benefit of the doubt to campaign with Unity Party. And Madam Salif won the election. 2012, I decided to transition because I saw that the fight that was about to take place from people that were listening to, it would have been heavy, and Unity Party would have reached to where it landed. So, but then I was looking at the CDC, whether they were prepared. So I went to the Intellectual Center just before Tanapoli death to make long matter short. And I made a public declaration there where the seditionists were happy. I said, if the CDC handled District 11 by-election after the death of Tanapoli, I will make a decision to join the CDC. But it depends on the kind of quality of decision they will make regarding that. And unfortunately for me, they did not make the proper decision. They were in Bombay County. Only had to go to the convention. The brutality was so huge. And then I heard on the radio, a new organization is getting the making. ANC, I just proposed Alternative National Congress. I just had first 2 meetings that I missed ever. And then I walked to Simako, small Simako, around Ghana's Way Inn supermarket. Jordan Doe Sherry was there. Henry Pedro Costa were there. Vendetta Patricks were there. And I engaged, and panelists spoke, and then they allowed the audience to speak. And then from our extemporaneous conversation, the guys felt I'm one of the guys. And that's how we all joined the bandwagon. Nobody recruited me, as a matter of fact. No history whatsoever. I listened to the announcement, and I was moved by the way they were trying to rally year Liberians for all quarters and take what the year put into document and make it as a political institution. So that's how I became one of the incorporators of the ANC, a founding executive committee member, and I have remained since then. So that's how I became motivated with the hope that we can all, galvanize our ideas and have Liberia on a transition where people can express themselves, where people can disagree. By the end of the day, Liberia should move forward.
I see. So, I know for you, you've already told us that you have an early start, especially in the village area where your grandfather was already the president of a university. So traditionally, that is. And so you had a very, very early start in terms of focus and truthfulness. So that already is, it comes with that responsibility, being part of that society that I know, because I have too many friends who are part of that society, and that's exactly what they would tell you. Even in those days in school, you want to find out, man, what you do over there? They'll tell you the thing is discipline and responsibility. And sometimes you take it for a joke, but you can see when you go lock trap, you see their trap, the way they set their trap, you can tell that responsibility and discipline is there. It just, those things I noticed when I was little. I started noticing those things very, very early. But anyway, so let's go ahead and let's hear your side. How did you get to this point? And then, like I said to Jay, then from there we'll tailor it down to specific.
So I think mine is a mix of a lot of things. I am by nature just stubborn, and I think it's because of that I usually get in these situations. But my paternal grandmother was also the chief women's zoo. So I live in a household where I had my grandfather was the chief zoo for the entire district, not just a town, the entire Zaza district, for all of the zoos until he died. And he also served the Liberian Frontier Force. He was one of many peacekeepers that went to Congo at the time when Liberia sent peacekeepers to Congo. He was a member of the of a ragtag of Lofa soldiers and Loma soldiers who fought to push back the expansion, the encroachment of Guinea by France on Liberia territory. So I come from a line of warriors and I come from a line of truth tellers. But I actually started getting involved in politics, if you want to call it that. I remember Self, when Self was in Liberia, the food distribution, UN food thing, when they used to elect zone chairman, all those things. That's where we started from, running campaign for people, hoping that when they win, they will give us some buggerweed, extra buggerweed over our buggerweed, and they will give us extra oil, or we'll be the beginning of we'll set the oil on the side for them, and bring the money back and get our eating. That is where it started from. And then I think the first time I actually became a leader was in my 12th grade year. I lived on the 24th Street beach behind JFK. So just to tell you how poor I used to be, we lived in those zinc shacks over there. We'll go and poop on the beach and come right and sit down in the breeze, see a breeze will blow your poop right in your face while you're sitting there and having dinner. But we ran and I became youth chairman on that beach. And so up to today, when you go on the beach and you call my name, most people don't even know my name. Just mini step president, so like, oh, the youth president. So it kind of became like my name, And so fast forward, I've been in the United States for 23 years now. So when I got here, I had to learn my own bearings. I went to school because my dad wouldn't have me do anything else, and of course, I knew I had a lot of expectations placed on me. But even while in school, I remember my grad school. I won an election to become a senator representing my graduate program in the student government, and we sat there and we wrote legislation in Texas. And so I have always tried to be involved in politics. So when Madame Ellen Johnson Sirleaf won the presidency in Liberia, I didn't support her. I had my own beef with her. But I still managed at the time. I actually was a member of the National Patriotic Party because I did not want Madame Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to win the election because I had my own problems with her. But she stayed in power 12 years, and I kind of flirted with the idea of the CDC and the ANC. I was like anything else but the Unity Party at that point. That was the mindset that I had. And so I've always done that in Minnesota. I am a member of the board of directors here of the OLM, the Organization of Liberians in Minnesota, the most powerful Liberian organization anywhere outside of Liberia. And I've been on their board, and it's an elected position. I've also contested twice now in U.S. elections. I ran once for school board here for RCO. We got about 12,000 votes, but we came about 200 votes shy of winning. And then I ran for city council here also in Brooklyn Center. We also came out short. But I have always been of the mindset that wherever I live, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to put my hand up and say, I'm here. I'm available. I have an idea. I have an intellect, and I need you to hear me. And so that is the same thing I bring to the Liberian body politics right now, is I've seen a few people that I know have the interest and the ability to lead Liberia. I can only support one person at a time. And so I had to do my own synthesis and say, well, I see Tiawan Konglo as that one person who has risen up above everything else that I can support.
I see. Mr. So before I go back to them to be specific, then let me ask you this, Mr. So, and that is, these two gentlemen are part of the LPR family now. So I'm not asking you to critique their involvement, as they just explained. But listening to their background story here with respect to Liberian politics, and you been in these kinds of stuff for a very long time, what are some of the things that perhaps you're taking out of this conversation right now?
It's a lot, and we will always be in a learning process as we engage in this sort of national conversations, local and national conversation. And I've since captured my imagination, my attention to this network. Sometimes things happen for the best, and you and I can get along for numerous reasons, but we can settle it strictly because you so much appeasing and you want to get things. And I'm a straight talker guy, and for which you don't call me Donald Trump. Who cares anyway?
I'm just about ready to call you Donald Trump.
But his first time appearance, I got a sense that say, yeah, I think these are the kind of people that I'm looking for on this network. And you know how difficult how we have worked. We transitioned from one name to another name, and we came to this name, Liberia Public Radio. So the very first thing that came to mind is we want people who will have a national conversations on this network. We see ourselves as a face of Liberia. We are not in competition with anybody. We try to do the best we can, and for which we model the start of the National Public Radios. I've been privileged to go to some of the trainings here, right here in the ocean state of Rhode Island, and it's been great. And the great thing about these two gentlemen, with the time that I got to know them, is there's a mutual respect despite of their political divides. He will go hitting on Jennington, and not on a personal basis, but on policies issue, and he will cleverly position his own candidate's agenda. This is how national conversation should be. They don't no insult, nothing. And Jennington, on the other hand, he will be taking note. And like as you rightfully named, because I told him, I said, be careful, be aware. I have a guy on this network here. That's another form of stereotype. Don't be surprised when he will when the day he comes here, he will call in it. And exactly what I told him. I saw Jennington, he said, oh yeah, ANC analyst. He went down to say Minnesota politician and all of that. But bottom line, I think the two gentlemen brought a lot to this conversation. After both of them appeared first and second appearances, I got multiple phone calls and text messages, inbox, and I did share them with them. And I think they're going to be more access to the ongoing process in Liberia. Let me just break this news. As you know, we've been in conversation with this our sister network, news content sharing. And I know people, but they said they've been sharing news. Why it's happening? Well, we don't just jump into something because we want to jump into it. It requires technical and detailed conversation to make sure what we're doing. Now, I had a privilege to talk T-Max, the legendary Martin Brown. So a slot now will be allotted to the Liberia Public Radio prime time, Sunday. Freedom Wise, and that's going to be coming soon. Sky will be transitioning from their original place, moving because of the destruction. And just imagine when Cecil appeared the next day. Apparently, T-Max went and listened to the replay. Everyone's like, I need that man number. I need that man number. I need to bring him here. He will become here. So I said, no, he's not taking him away, but he can also contribute. Believe me, when Sissy got to Liberia after I shared number, he jumped behind Sissy. That's how it's supposed to be. And so sometimes it's so saddening when we see people who wants to occupy a major and high profile position, their language, things that comes from out of their mouth. So then like, wait a minute. If we poke in the eyes of the government and say they are X, Y, Z, and we are acting and behaving like them or more than them, then that's a serious problem. Then who we are, how do we want to affect changes in society? So LPR are going to find herself in a better position. And that's most of the reason most of these guys, they don't come here because they want to play to their rhythm. I can tell you my last interview with the only person I didn't interview during the 2017 more or less is now President Weah. We got phone calls from most of these people, what they wanted to do. And I told them, you know what, if we don't get it, we will fight for it. And this is why we don't even do like GoFund, Cash Out very suddenly, and we do it for organization, because this is how you are brought down. Politicians, they are very good at that. Nobody going to give you an offer without anything. It's not possible. What the heck? I'm just look at thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars, and give it to Sissy without me wanting something in return. It might not be immediate, but it set the tone, it set the pace, and I'm going to compromise. How can I get a date on, say, the man who gave me $1,000, $100? Do you think I'm going to put it up? If I won't have that good conscience to give it to a colleague on a different news network to go pull it up. So there are so many things involved. I'm so happy. And Lena Dodo going to be adding to Lena Dodo of the front page. She's going to be adding to this network as well as a commentator. I feel bad for you, Liberal, because you're going to be in a very difficult position.
Mr. So I'm having a conversation with two of the most intellectual young Liberians, and it's not about me. I will deal with you later. I will deal with you tomorrow. We have a show tomorrow, and we'll go on there. But let's go back to you, Jonathan. On a very serious note now, as young as you are, what do you expect with all of the explanation that you gave? So it's not that you're just a Johnny come late. I mean, Johnny just coming. That means you've been in the team for a very long time. You know where you want. What are exam Comey, whoever, but what are the policy expectations from you based on pure policy that perhaps you think if there are certain policy implemented, it doesn't matter who, but the Liberians will gain? What are some of the policy and why you think that?
And thank you so very kindly. Like you said, many times people are of the belief, based on the traditional nature, that when you in this thing for so long, there is something specific that you need, that you will want to earn, or some portfolio, some benefit at the end of the day. To be very honest and genuine with you, if I will earn no portfolio, but what I will appreciate of a leader, whether Mr. Cummings, whether Councillor Gonglo, whether Ambassador Wakai, is an open leadership that will strive to be honest to the Liberian people. What do I mean by that? Or what are the different indicators of being honest and being open with the Liberian people? I need a government that will take the priority of our healthcare workers, our teachers, our security forces, like we saw in refugee camp. When you see gendarmerie, you see a nurse, you see an instructor, because in Ivory Coast, the student move from one school to another school, like the teachers themselves. And you see teachers' quarters. You see the gendarmerie, when they bring her things from one location to another place. I want to see these things happen in our country. And the only way these things can happen in our country, when the revenue generation aspect of our country envelope is protective, it is transparent, and it is credible, as well as the expenditure component of our governance structure. That is what I really want to see. And if I can see these things happening, where immigration officer or even fire service officer can find dignity in going to the bank and withdrawing, paying her child school fees, and can still be left with change, and we can dignify those people by providing their LDC, water, and coordinate through the social means from the different taxes, and coming back to the country revenue. I don't need a job for that. I will be kind.
My throat, my esophagus now is boiling as if I am the conductor here. So wait a minute, Liberal, let me just intro inside here. We need to get more from these guys here. So, Jonathan, are these under the belt of the ANC for which you are giving them all of this support? All this conversation with the
So you're taking my conversation.
Hold on. You want to let this guy
I don't want to involve party here tonight. I just wanted these young people.
There
Okay,
is
go ahead.
yeah, there is a no. We have to. There's a correlation here. This guy, he supports a political institution that is vying for the higher office of the land. So his own ideology might most likely tie in with this here. Hearing this sort of soundbite, Jennington here is cleverly and strategically sounding the bell of his institution that he supports. No question about that. So we'll try to kind of mingle it out here this evening. Go ahead.
Since I'll be going quickly, let me say it's important to synchronize all of what I've said. The key for me in what I've said will be a leader who will be time conscious. And that's how I tie it to Mr. Cummings and the ANC. Liberia is 175 years behind the rest of the world. And so when I visited my father-in-law, and he's a sympathizer of Ambassador Boakai, and his daughters are loud supporters of Mr. Cummings, and he was trying to find out about what Mr. Cummings' agenda and what have you. And then somebody said, but Daddy, everything we tell you about Mr. Cummings, you're not hearing. So I told her, I said, no. Mr. Flombo, Mr. Washington is a supporter of Mr. Cummings for the fact that he's time conscious. He's old, he's in the 80s, but if you told him, say, you be here at this time, he will be there. My first interaction with Councillor Gonglo, and when I took his number and shared it with Mr. Cummings, and Mr. Cummings said you were visiting Councillor Gonglo, I think 2017, Councillor Gonglo was surprised that Mr. Cummings was on time. And the only way you can have like people move forward, unless you are time conscious, you are respectful of people's time, and you can execute the function of this 175 years lagging back on the basis of time. That's how I can synchronize it to that of what I think ANC can do, will do with the anticipation or the expectation that I have about what I envisage in a leader that can make things happen for us.
Jonathan, can you read what is said on the screen over there?
Yeah, they said, Dolake, you got request to stay on longer. Okay, so the request are coming from the madam and the birthday host, Naoli. So I'm good here.
So Jonathan, is Mr. Flomo Washington your father-in-law?
Yes.
Yes.
Show my picture to him.
They can see you.
Do. But look at the chat. I'm telling you, when you talk about Zozo,
Mr. Flomo Washington, yeah, well, yes.
Let us try to calm down with the kumbaya, Zozo kumbaya right now. Let us don't go that way. But he's also a good gentleman here for our community. He's very nice to all of us here. He's always been very nice to all of us here. So, Sissy, let me ask you this: you are involved. You are not a stranger of politics, whether it be Minnesota politics or Liberian politics or even national politics with respect to U.S. You're quite capable of handling whatever that they throw your way. But what I really want to find out from you, besides the idea of what would be your expectation in terms of policy, if those policies that you have in mind are they leader specific, party specific, or those that think that anybody that comes to power who was willing to listen to you, that those ideas of policy that perhaps you think will move Liberia forward, that you will be willing to share with them?
Well, let me answer your question strictly. The ideas that I hold strong to, the philosophy that I hold dear to, the dream of Liberia that I carry in my heart, it's not party specific, it is not person specific, but it has to be carried out by people who I believe have the gravitas and have the sophistication and the lived intelligence not just learn intelligence, but lived intelligence, the thing we call Bana in Liberia, to be able to carry it out.
Joe Viaze he's the best Banamel, so you'll be careful.
I know, but because as an electrical engineer myself, we're learning science that liquid. One of the characteristics of liquid is that it takes the shape of the container that it's placed in, and so I don't want a container that is not morally upright, entrusted with this purified liquid that we call the Dream of Liberia, because then it's gonna either come out looking like the gallon is in and something else. And I'm saying this to see
that is very, very, very deep, and I'm not too sure. Say, I don't mean to interrupt, but when you bring those, and that's one of the reasons why I like to have you guys on here. For example, you're not telling us that the dream of Liberia that you have in mind, you don't want to just put in any kinds of gallon that will take the form of whatever it is. So that's very deep. But go ahead.
Yeah. And so what do I believe? What do I want for Liberia? In order for me to answer that question, I just give me just 2 minutes. And let me tell you about my own life story. My father is one of over 30 children that my grandfather had. At the time, people believed that the more kids you had, the more people that lived with you, the richer you were, because you had enough manpower to make farms. And so my grandfather was not going to invest in European education for my dad. And so how my dad got to school was Peace Corps, Liberian American Peace Corps, that went down to the village, and he became a cook for one of them. And then through that, he ended up at LTI, and then ended up at a training center, a vocational training center in Bumi, in Clay, and then ended up at a Lamco in Buchanan. I graduated from Bassa High. I love my man, moved all around the place. Fast forward, became an engineer at LBS. It was an electrical engineer, hence the reason I too became an electrical engineer. But he struggled. My mom had an elementary level education, because again, her father was a judge in Zaza, and at the time, people didn't believe in educating girls, and so she started school very late, and by the time she was a teen, she became pregnant. So I will proudly say a child of teen parents, and so my mom had to sacrifice and didn't go to school anymore, and so I lived in two words. One word where my dad has struggled, God has been nice and smiled upon him, and providence have rewarded his hard work, and he was able to afford to send me to cathedral. But my mom lived in the village, and I had a stepmom. When I say stepmom today, people who watching me and know me, they won't believe. But yes, she was my stepmom, and she is today this. People will tell you that that's my mom, because she did not have step between us. She worked at the National Bank after graduating from Tubman High, and she did bookkeeping. That was all she needed. She worked at a central bank, at a national bank, became head teller until she retired, with just a bookkeeping, a vocational stuff that she learned at William V. Studman High School. I said this to say that I want somebody who is going to help all of those sectors that I've just talked about. When I graduated high school in Monrovia, my first job I had, like American kids' first job is at McDonald's. My first job was to become a teacher. I started teaching right out of high school. The very next year after high school, I started teaching at Bishop Mawia Institute. I was the sport director when we won the triple championship at ISA, and I was into a high school league, and I was teaching mathematics to ninth graders, fresh out of high school. And I'm saying this to say, I'm looking for somebody who will be able to empower my birth mom to say, yes, you might have given birth at an early age, but that should not be the end of your dream and your chance to compete. That we can empower you. My mother used to make markets. She would go across to Guinea before the war, come back, sell. She became a businesswoman who was able to help my other siblings that she had. And so she had to kind of she didn't have a booth to raise to tie her own bootstring. She couldn't even afford a booth. And so I need in a leader somebody who will empower my mother, the late Klubo Pokwe, so that she understand that, yes, I may make a mistake today. Yes, in Liberia, the idea of sexual health is not something that people that is prevalent, that a lot of people know about. So contraceptive and contraception might not be something they know about, and they might get pregnant. And just because you're a teen parent, that should not be the end of your future. And that should not limit the future of your children you're having. I want somebody to bring in more Peace Corps, Liberian Peace Corps this time, so that the likes of my father, who will stay in villages around Liberia, can have access, that they don't have to work, and not demeaning the white man, but they don't have to be chief cooks and chefs for other people in order to experience the Liberian dream, to have access to education to be able to compete. I want somebody who will see me, the young graduate from a high school that had no chance of going anywhere else, that they will empower me and provide access for me to be able to extend my education while in Liberia, to get quality education, so that my father, at the time, we spent 2 months' salary to pay my 1 semester tuition, that no parent in Liberia should be made to use 2 months' salary to pay one child's tuition just because they want quality education for their children. And so I'm looking at all of those things, and I'm thinking back to in Luffa County, where I'm from. When you get sick today, in order for you to go to a hospital, you have to get on a motorbike. You have to hope there's a motorbike. You have to have a bike to carry you for hours. And I'm not saying this to say that this is a George Weah problem. This is the problem that Liberia has had for a long time. So I'm needing a president that will provide quality access to quality health care, quality education, security, so that girls and boys who find themselves coming from the slums and coming from poor families, that they will give them the chance to rise. And if I have a candidate that can do that, if I have a clean bucket, I will entrust them with that liquid to carry for Liberia.
Mr. So.
Yeah. Look.
No. You can't run ahead of me. I got to throw a question at you.
Why?
You heard these two gentlemen laying out what their expectation in terms of policy that will be helpful to the country. You as a journalist, you as a trained mind in terms of people leadership ability, in this whole entire field, do you see that these two gentlemen aspiration might be fulfilled, or perhaps they're hanging their hopes and aspiration on a hanger that most likely might not pan out? Mr. So, give it to us this evening.
They are optimistic. They are not pessimistic. That's the good thing about it. And they have a defined purpose. And every human being, you should have a defined purpose. I love the narrative provided by Sissy here, and as well as our own brother Jonathan here. Why? It sends a message of people who out there who makes overnight decision without a defined purpose. What he has done here tonight, the narrative that he has provided here, you see, is long like a rare sea, but it has all of the ingredients in it. In that, he's been very calculative, he's been very thoughtful in making decisions as to who to support. And what he's doing, he already made his mind, but he's also now in an executory, in a unique way, he's communicating with others. Yes, you have the right, you have the choice to support, but you must have a purpose for which it must be attached to give that support. That's why he's saying here, that's the message they are saying. I don't know how Libra to Naipa Elola. Well, why you eat today, my man?
Mr. So, I will deal with you tomorrow. I will deal with you tomorrow. But tonight, I want these two gentlemen. I was hoping that my brother Lobo was going to join. I want them to explain to us.
Exactly. No, the reason I'm saying that is this is one of your best performances here. You've been horrible in the last few days, but this night you really nailed it tonight. I mean, and I think it's important. Sometimes we have this sort of casual conversation. Everybody there is a unique story for each and all of us, and everyone, even the listeners out there. And that's why we always say here, this network is not just only elite, only senator. Anybody who wants to come and share their story, their narrative, their lifestyle. Do you know what that does? It impacts and it creates some sort of a hope for other people. Giving his long story. about his mom. But see where he is, where he are today, he's proud. But he's still not satisfied. The sky is his limit. So he cautioned even the very leader, the person that he supports for the higher office of the land. He's still putting that challenge. And I have no doubt that these tough questions, yes, you need my support, but these are my standard according to my own. Like a politician will say, I approve this message. That's exactly to what he's doing today. So I'm just only saying this to be so creative to bring this sort of talking point among ourselves here tonight. It's just kind of like it tells us the authenticity, the genuineness these gentlemen bring to the disco, and their eagerness to make sure not just only their candidate, but someone who is best, who is good for Liberia, who will make calculative decision, who will just not you just work out, I want to be a leader. That's not it's not a skill that you just want to go train. If you just can't be a leader, you can't just be a leader. The quality of leader comes with so many things, but unfortunately, people just look at one side. It's not just you going to school, get a master, doctorate degree, you can be a leader. If you get that in your back of your mind, zero, you miss it. Common sense, tolerance, your communication with people, the respect for be a good listener, arrogant, it can make you a leader. But I think what these gentlemen have done tonight, they are giving us a lot, and not just only us, but the listeners, the viewers, because it would make them to give a second thought.
I see. Let me, Jonathan, it's 6:30, and I know you made a commitment that you have to leave, and we respect that, respect of what is happening. But you have your family man, just like every one of us here. So I will let you say your patent word, and then we will see you tomorrow for sure.
And so thank you very kindly. Like, I'm so impressed with the questioning tonight, and it is human. We do this thing, we should do this thing so that it motivate other people, that people are not just fly by night politician or just moved by the wings and caprice of what is happening around us.
Yo, well, when I call you, I'm going to say you're not going nowhere.
This is very important.
People don't want you to leave. They don't want you to leave.
No, it's not a makeup. That's what it's saying. Is you're not going anywhere.
I hope you're winning that. I have a pattern coming in there, so.
Oh my goodness.
But if I should remain, but the good thing about it is that this platform, with this, it gives hope. It motivates young folks who are following, and it implants in their mind commitment to what should make our country move ahead. We have 43,000 square miles. We're in America, quota road, all over where sningers you go, any part of the place you come by, it stay clean. And we can do it for our country. If we take away that personality, that whether Mr. Cummings, whether Ambassador Bwaka, that they are gods, and we bring them to where they are human beings, they can make mistakes, they can borrow ideas, you can be innovative and give it, innovations to them. And all we want from them is to be in a willing position to accept creativity, innovation, and put it into effect. And with that, I think we can make some strive, and we can be able to look back again and say, yes, we were once this before, but today we are making progress. And that's what we need as a country.
I see. Okay, it's up to you. You're right there in your own studio in the house, so you know when they say time to go, you're ready to go. So we appreciate it. But Sissy, let's take a little bit further from you as well. You're young, educated, doing well, and you're not even in Louva County. You're right here in the United States. You can even leave from here right now and go to England, and nothing will change. unless maybe if you go to China because you're gonna have to learn their language. But the ideas and the preservation and everything else that is in you is still there. Why are you with all these things? Why do you want? I mean, why are you still connected? I know you got relative mom, you know, you got relatives in Liberia. And besides that, why are you still connected to Liberia on a national level? What really moving you? Why do you want Liberia to be successful? I mean, right now you get money, and then your family member call you, you're sending something. You don't need Liberian government to help you help your brothers and sisters back home. But why are you still connected nationally to the Liberian issues?
So you see this thing behind me,
Right.
and you see the seal on my chest. This
Right.
is the seal
Right.
of the Republic of Liberia. I am proud, 100% LIB 231 bleeds through me, and I think. So I told you about my grandfather fighting wars. What I didn't tell you was that my grandfather directly came from Guinea. He moved into Liberia. My grandfather settled in Liberia from Guinea. And he fought against Guinean encroachment on Liberian territory. That tells me I owe something to the Republic of Liberia. I owe every ounce of breath and blessing that I got to the 231. And you know, when God has blessed you, and I don't want to preach to people, but I went to church schools all my life. When God has blessed you, it is behooving upon you to be a blessing to other people. I always tell people that when I went to the embassy to get my visa, there were people before me and after me that got denied. I got a visa, not because I was better, but I think Providence had a reason for that. And that reason is so that I come here and acquire whatever intelligence I can and help my people back home. My brother who is in Liberia and we used to walk to go to Mamba Point. I thought I had a USIS library there. We used to walk and go there. We sit down there the whole day. We're writing letters to universities in America. We're writing for scholarships. And I'm telling you, during Autopus, right after Autopus, because we had a dream that, look, if I can just get to America, man. And I failed to accept that just because I am no longer going to bed hungry, that I ignore the other children that are going to bed hungry just like I used to. I lived in a one room with 5 other boys. And we used to suck the cocodoro. We suck it. They get white. You put a sugar on it and eat it and go to school. And I still believe there are people in Liberia still doing that. And so I, with that lived experience, need to be able to use all of my strength and blood and sweat to ensure that I talk for them to better their lives, because not everybody will get visa and not everybody wants to leave the motherland. If Liberia was better, I wouldn't want to be in America. I would be packing up and going back to Liberia to go teach at William V. Studman High School, to take my math degree with me. Chairman of the math department here the last 9 years in the state of Minnesota, to take that back to William V. Studman High School and sit down there and teach. So when you ask me why, it's the same thing that still drives me. I run a nonprofit, Mr. Toll. Before the COVID, I would go to Liberia every year, and I run teacher training programs in the countryside, not in Monrovia. I go in the countryside. I go places where cars don't go. I get on bike and go places and pay teachers $5 US per day to come, and I train them in the new way of teaching, because I want my brethren that are in those villages that have no access to Cairo to be taught in a way that is appropriate for learning. Because I want tomorrow, when I go Liberia, I don't have people coming to rob me because they were not provided opportunities and access to quality education and quality healthcare. So somewhere, somehow, it is selfish that I'm doing it, because I want so that when I get to Liberia, I have less people begging me, and I want people to be able to be self-sustaining and not lowering themselves because they see me come from America and say, oh, the shiggy, when they could be doing better themselves. So I think it's selfish that I do it because I want people to be just as independent as I am, so that when we meet on the beer table, walk and drink and walk away without anybody expecting or lowering themselves for me to buy them food for the next day for them and their families.
Okay, Mr. Jonathan, you heard your brother just give us some good story here. But I was wondering, you was in Liberia, you've been in Liberia, and you have worked in Liberian society for a very long time. But many of the aspiration and the process your brother just enumerated here, perhaps it's the same thing that you also want for your Liberian brothers and sisters. How do you feel when you go to bed at night, knowing fully well the government, not just this government, past government and what have you, and then yet still they are unable to fulfill just that common societal's dream of people being able to do something for themselves. For example, just if you go on Front Page Africa right now, the president initiated a program, $3 million program for Liberian businesses. And according to the story right now, the auditing report, they can't come for that money. So I'm asking you, and I'm not trying to tie with politics here tonight. I'm trying to remove ourselves from the normal politics conversation. But I'm just wondering, when you go to bed, how do you feel before that sleep comes to you? What are some of the things that make you to toss and turn at night based on because of whatever it is that is happening in Liberia? I'm sorry, but look, folks, I mean, I know when we come on here with Mr. So on, we don't have this kinds of opportunity for us to go deep into ourselves like that, because we come on, we're on a defensive of what. So I'm trying to go into that. I'm sorry, you keep us. Why you have to, something like that. But I'm sorry
about that. No, I position that because it touched me.
Yeah.
How do I go to bed? From the day that I received my visa with my son, how many persons were in a queue to receive visa? As a matter of fact, Liberian men respect no other time but the U.S. Embassy time. Yeah. No time. They say come to the embassy, 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock, they're already up. You call them for serious business. How can I have community meeting this, that? They will say the wheel was falling, the traffic was there, but they won't. Nobody get excuse for it. But on a very serious note,
Mommy about resettlement, 6 o'clock, to go pull right in the queue. That my space, yeah.
And then when it brings me to Mr. So about the rank in the queue. I work at the Liberian Senate. I work at the House of Representatives with Madam Noe Beggar Kido before. Like many of our colleagues would say, you're doing this thing because you want political position. I'm a foot soldier for Unity Party. Everyone in Liberia knew me that I campaigned for Unity Party. The only employment I ever got in the government was to serve the House of Representatives under Madam Kido for AME University. It was no party dealing. It was no benefit to the party. No minister can boast of that. And she brought me on board because I came from a student background. And so for House of Representatives to the Liberian Senate, Senator Nathan office of Bapolu County, look, it is appalling. And it is painful. And like you said, it is not just about a particular government, but under the Baransali government, staffers at the Capitol building, even up to today, they will be putting rats in queue to protect their space because they are not sure that the bus will drop them home. And I've lived in Nigeria 2004, and I've seen staff or drivers at the Nigerian parliament. And so when our staff are in a non-revenue area or dignified area that the legislature cannot be dignified, and even to get the first meal for the day is a struggle.
First branch of government at that rate.
And they will be taking loan. They are not even qualified to take loan or be on insurance policy. Look, it is appalling. I took an ID card as a staff of the legislature. It took me 3 weeks, 3 working weeks to get a computerized ID card from the Liberian Senate for $10. And that same $10 is what it takes to get a computerized ID card from the Alternative National Congress in my office specifically with Aliu Kerry. But with Aliu Kerry, you pay your $10. The way I tell them at the Capitol Building, the way the machine can shove the thing in front of you, you get vexed with it. So you cannot, and that's ANC. Same time. So I'm not trying to bring politics into it, but our people need to be dignified. And so a height, a pain, it is not because this opportunity is there that I'm here today, but I wake up Liberia. I go to bed Liberia. I listen to the news on an everyday on Facebook Live. Last night, Tapeta, there's a challenge between Tapeta and I think going somewhere toward we and Way with the bridge, and they were complaining it's damaged.
Yeah, I mean, water went over there. I saw that.
Yeah, it hurts. And so all we can hope for is to provide those the needed education, not just the political aspect of it, but how our people should live. How, and it comes in a help with transparency to end up. Look, when you have a country that is corroded with notorious, corrupt-minded people, it is challenging. I was in Danane. Washington Walker, the first black man to sell Firestone at the highest level, was principal of St. James Catholic School, where Samurai Wolokole was going. Yeah, Vanning passed away. He became press secretary to Charles Taylor, the late, may so rest in peace. You had Gobert, who is now a chemist at Firestone. You know what he used to eat? Butter, wheat, and beans. No money to buy teacher. Only prospect you hope you on. With the hope that you get quality education for that time period. And when you get back to Liberia after the war, you will be able to exercise it. And because it was transparent, young folks' minds were bended on acquiring the skill that were needed. Until we can bring transparency into our country, where it can be a new life that people can follow. Look, we'll always have this kind of thing repeating itself, where people will struggle to get, you work, you get dig hole and cover hole, and you cannot realize what you're doing.
Mr. So, thank you. Mr. So, these are, and the reason of me doing this here tonight, I wish Lobo were here because I think Lobo
Are you still on this Lobo business?
Yeah, hold on, Mr. So, I believe Lobo probably felt that we were not coming here tonight to pray, sing, and who get the wine, whatever. I think perhaps he had that spirit within him. But let me ask you this. With these two gentlemen, these two young gentlemen just explained to us their feeling here again tonight, which is wonderful. But do you think they have partners in their category, age group, back home, that perhaps will be able to help and stimulate that conversation? Because the reason I'm asking is, in your own age group, you have praise singers. You have people who will sing level of education, but they are not in it genuinely for them, for the Liberian people. They are in it for themselves. And so how do you now challenge whatever energy and whatever explanation that they have given us here? How do you put that into a funnel that perhaps it will affect the other Liberian, young Liberians, for them to see reason, that they need to vote wisely, that they need to think about what their brothers and sisters are saying. How do you marry these ideas with those who are in Liberia, just praise singers? And we know, I mean, I'm not saying something that is strange to any of you. So, Mr. So, the question to you is, how do you marry these ideas together so that at least the ball can move forward?
Well, that burden is not on them. Their job here is to come clean and say it as it should be and speak the reality. Talking about praise singer, praise singer not only in Liberia, they are here in huge numbers with you as well. Probably in California, there are some there as well. But the thing here is the amount of genuineness, the authenticity, first and foremost, the love of your country. And there's something Sissy and I we share when he was talking about Coco Dolo. I said, oh, it's like somebody in a glass hole and throwing a stone. I went to church, man. I used to live Ghana's and those days, I remember 84, 85, when you're in that maroon and white uniform, no car wants to stop to you. So the perceptions, yes, tell me how it was, troublesome. We used to do this thing when it comes to students.
People, you used to get a car for free.
You don't want to pay for it.
So there are good ones, there are bad ones, but and perception is one of the bad things, because when it overshadows everything, people draw a conclusion of who you are, even if you are not in that. But what they are doing here tonight, and reaction that I'm getting, and messages that I'm getting here, I would say it, and I know you won't like it. What Sisse is doing here, his willingness, and that's not the first time that we have had this conversation, and we saw that going the other days in those villages with his beautiful daughter, wife, and thing. So they are not, and I think LPR has done extremely well. He's sending message to institutions. It's a declaration that he's making now. And that even goes to you. May his soul rest in peace. Someone and I, who are considered one of my mentors, we used to sleep in the same little tiny bed. Stephen Tower Esther became a minister of public works, who we didn't talk to. Samson Toll is willing to help. Met friends in government. Some of them are ministers, schoolmates. We talk to senator. We say, you're scared to call people name. I don't know why you're scared, and that's what I don't like about you. Your willingness to help, and we call, we talk, we send whatever thing, and guess what? Still, but this speaks to the fact that, and we have to persist, because our brothers and sisters back there, these politicians, they have implanted within them like we are not part of them, or we are runaway people. Crises are coming, so we left them in danger. And so we want to go back to take job. Sister, I don't want to go back there to take job. You don't want to go back there for only job. Janitor herself, I have done my part. I work with the Ministry of Post. I work with the Ministry of State. I work with the Duke of Management. So what's so much? This is why we are having this, to give way to the new generation. You can't be in it over and over and over, and you say you want future. Where's it? We are in the future. No, any other future anywhere.
Be careful over and over. And I tell no politics here. Be careful that you over and over you going. Please don't go there. Be careful.
You want to sanction my voice again?
No, I'm just telling you. Be careful. No,
why should I be?
What do you mean by you in there for over and over? Where you going with it? Now four over and over. We know that 4 decades over. I mean, don't touch it. Don't even go there.
So who is it referring to?
Hey, that's why I make a statement.
Yeah. Okay. So bottom line, I think this is a very good conversation, and this is how this country, you see the progress of this country is based on people real-time, lifetime story, the narrative, the story people tell. It captures the imaginations. It makes people to tap into people's expertise. Unfortunately, it is not happening in our country. Should we give up on it? Absolutely not. This is why this sort of conversation will always be kept on the Liberia Public Radio. Whether senator we appear, whether representative appear, whether director, manager, minister we appear, we don't care. We have capable people here, and I hope we've been throwing this out here to have some sort of gender balance here. Some ladies, please come forward as well. So we want to have a balance so that your side will be heard. And I can tell you the good thing about folks that come here, you never see when they're having their engagement is with their peers, and they will never be that insultive. It's just argument and pull out their intellectual ability points and stuff like that. So I just want to use this time to kind of throw it out there to our sisters. And if you have the time, it's that's another way we are giving back to the community. We don't pay this kind of man here says here, do we have money to pay him? Janitor, do we have money to pay him for somebody? That man, he's a scholar, he's a teacher already. I got money to pay him. Samson told, he's the only money making man, but when it comes to pay money, they say he ain't get it.
All right, Mr. So, okay. All right, folks. Again, Samson told I brought up the radio, and here again this evening with Jonathan Sisse, Alfonso, and myself. We're just having some good time here. So I think we're gonna call Mr. So. If you have the abilities over there, can you write my number on the dashboard, not on the Facebook dashboard, so they can? I mean, if we can take one or two calls before we call it quit for the night.
You see, you don't have the ability to do
well,
it.
For us, but I'm not here for friendship business. I'm here for real business. They don't want to call. They can't call. That's fine. If you don't want to put my number out there.
No, we can put it back. But
write it down. It's an instruction from the board chair. No, and you go back. The man left already, right? The real board chair left already, right?
The man wants to start looting position. Call your number, remember. I get it on. I can't memorize.
916 533 2048.
2048. So I think it's a good conversation.
Yeah. So, folks, we're only going to be here for another 4 or 5 minutes at most, and we will take early leave tonight because the reason why Mr. So is putting this up, the reason that I do this, I was hoping seriously, on a very serious note, I was hoping to have Mr. Lobo to join us because he also have a huge contribution to make in terms of this whole stuff here. Okay, somebody's calling already. Samson told Labrador, what's your name? Where you're calling from? What's on your mind?
Thank you so much. My name is John Yomin Jr. and I call from Massachusetts. Basically, I wanted to say thanks for organizing such an informative and courage-giving discussion. And the two gentlemen seated over there are people that I know, one of whom I closely work with, Jonathan, and one of whom I've been interacting with at the cyberspace, but it's more like I know him personally. He's a great educator. And I wanted to say these are the kind of people we look forward to. And all we need in our country right now is courage.
Yes.
Because people have come with many promises. They have lifted hearts. They have ensured that the assurances they gave will bring the change. But they have replicated the long time abuse of power, misuse of public resources, breakdown of rule of law in our country. But I can say all this not lost with people like you bringing on these kind of discussions. So I'm just trying to add to whatsoever courage they have. I'm into that. They both know. And the most important thing we need for our country right now is education. And beyond all sectors, our country is desperately in need of education. The styles of education, this is not talk about it every time. We see the rise of STEM education in this country and how it's shaping the minds of young people into innovation. We see the involvement of project-based learning, making young students to be very creative and productive and leading some of the greatest innovation from that very early stages. And we are still talking about limited infrastructure, chalkboards, cheer, and even teacher training in our country. We've already missed out significantly on this century that we did in the emergence of the internet age, which we are still in now. ICT is not a discussion because we do not have the major fundamentals. We used to talk about libraries across the country. So these are the kind of discussions we should have in the country that will make the ultimate change. It's not about party. We should go beyond that. It's not about tribe. We should go beyond that. So this kind of discussion, it may not be an everyday thing. Whenever we do it, and like the key word all of you have used, the genuine nature of it, change our country. It's not going to be too long when right leadership is there, and we can see that all of our people are brought together, very much reconciled to change our country. We have the possibilities, we have the brains and minds. We just need to pull ourselves together and to make the much anticipated, united, and economically prosperous society happen. I can say thank you, and we can achieve it.
Thank you.
We can achieve it. Thanks so much, and we can do it together.
Thank you.
Congratulations for continually serving the great country we have. A better library is possible. Yeah, it's a reality we can achieve together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, what a powerful statement.
It just makes me feel like the good days of Liberia is still ahead. But let me just tell you something here very quickly. This is what you don't do. When he started speaking and started praising two of our verse, that were getting ready to say, I'm calling you, don't call me back again. But then he called me and said, you're doing good. It changed me straight. You see? That's why you don't rush into anything. Mr. So that's just an example. But anyway, we reached the time anyway. So, gentlemen, I know we will be back here tomorrow. There's no reason to say we'll do these things from time to time. After we have some serious conversation about our Liberian Bali politics and who involved with what, and then we'll find time to do these somehow to look into. Where's the good English? The people say you look into yourself, something like that. But I don't want to say that. Then people say, "Hey, man, come and speak." No, we can't hear. Sometimes we lower ourselves and say, "This is who we are," because it's very helpful. It's very helpful. Because I know many of us, like one Mr. Nyano said once, I came when we went to Chicago for Liberty Party leadership conference at that time. And I asked him, he was driving. We went to the airport to collect some people. And I said, why do we do this all the time? He said, Mr. To, this is what keeps us alive. And I believe that many of us that continue to have this discussion, it's not that people don't disappoint us. I mean, there were people who were hoping that this government would not come to power and blah, blah, blah. Or there was other people that were hoping that when this government comes to power, things going to change. And look what it's turned out to be. But yet still, if you leave from here right now and go into a supermarket, I'm not even going to say party, supermarket, and you see two Liberians standing in the hallway or in the aisle, they're discussing nothing but Liberia. That's it. That's our life. And I think the government and people back home, they're missing the boat. I've always said this here, and that will be my closing here, and then the other you can come in. I've always said this. I say, if the government of Liberia, not just this government, if they really, really want some money, they could have harnessed the money power the Liberian diaspora had. Then they don't have to be running for $2 million here, running via IMF for $2 million. They can get that from people here in the United States. As long as the Liberian in the diaspora believe and trust the leadership, they will get it. They will get it easily. But this is not what we have. So I want to thank all of you again. Let me go ahead, Jay. What will be your closing here? I know you did a prelude of that, but give it to us again.
Yeah, thank you again, Mr. To, for this such a wonderful, layout of questioning that will bring the value from in us. And I would like to close by saying very few things. Look, we need to value where we come from. We need to add dignity to what we did before as a cultural people. Like Dolake went on the farm, he could fend up rice, separate the claymore from the diet. And we need to implant it in our children, and he's still selling, because I've not reached my zenith yet. We need to implant allegiance to our country, patriotism into our people, and we need to be proud of our dialects, our cultural heritage. And with this, it will get up moving. It will be of a brand that we can unite around as a country. And lastly, I would like to state that, look, in management, it says capital bonds bring more return. But we coin it during our days of student politics, we say human capital brings more return. Because capital bond could be money, investment, and what have you. And it could expire, it could live its useful life, but human capital has a long duration. So if we invest in our human capital, like we've seen Rwanda and different countries doing, and avoid the politicking and just tap upon a young, innovative brain like John Yomi, who normally is writing articles and like a math instructor, a chairperson, CC, and forget about the political aspect and bring him in, and the government can welcome these folks in. I think we can do better. I've seen it. I have lived in a refugees camp, and I think it can still be done in our country. I just want to close on a note. It was pleasant having me here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Sissy, we'll close it for us, and then Mr. So can wrap it for us as well.
Okay, what gives me hope, first of all, is the likes of John Yomi, the brother who just called. You should get to know him. He is a young scholar, an author, and a diplomat. I think, when I interact with younger people, I mean, I know y'all keep calling me young, but there are people younger than me. When I interact with people younger than me,
that name one guy also, he always seduce people in the NGO. That's name LIBERIAN NGO.
Yeah, those people that have the kind of intellect. It gives me hope for the future of my country, the 231. I keep saying this every time we meet, and and I know I'm being biased, but my big deal is education in Liberia. We have to invest in education in Liberia. The last time I remember paying serious attention in school was in 9th grade, right before the war. After the war, I didn't sit in 10th grade. I didn't sit in. I spent 2 weeks in 11th grade and moved to 12th grade. So if you imagine from 9th grade, I spent 2 weeks in 11th grade, went to 12th grade at RC Lawson. I came third in my class. I got a Division I certificate in YA. What carried me there was because I had a solid, very solid primary education. My father struggled, sent me to Cathedral. I went to St. Patrick's. I ended up at St. Dominic in Tottenham. Solid primary education allowed me to have gaps in my education. I didn't end 9th grade yet. I didn't sit in 10th grade. I spent 2 weeks in 11th grade, went to 12th grade, graduated with Division I certificate. That tells you that we need to focus heavily on investing in quality primary education. Because when we invest in quality primary education, we build the basis, the foundation for people to love education and to know why they're in education. If you don't do that, and somebody go to a behind the house elementary school and a behind the house kindergarten, then they come to high school and you expect better of them. You're trying to build a brick stair house on a cinder foundation that has not been cast. Mr. To, you know what that is as an engineer, and that is what happens with our people, with our children. And so I am a huge proponent of quality education in Liberia, specifically focusing on primary education. Real quick, and then I'll stop. When the WIA government came to power, I saw hope. I reached out and offered. So I sent my curriculum vitae to these guys and said, here is what I want you to do. I want to come to Liberia during the summer because I get paid during the summer for my job. I will lodge myself, I will feed myself, I will transport myself around Liberia. But I need you to buy me a plane ticket. I don't care on what airline. Buy me a plane ticket, bring me to Monrovia. I will sit and help rewrite our curriculum. I will sit and help put in teacher licensing in place. I will help and put in safeguards, teacher trainings and stuff. Because in America, the last 8 years, I have been training teachers in my school district. I had a contract to rewrite the math portion of the SAT. The SAT you take today, I wrote a math portion of that with a contract from College Board, right? And so I told them, in my state, I am in charge in my school district of teacher licensing. I can say, yes, you can renew your license, and you cannot renew your license. So we'll bring that idea, that intellect, to play in Liberia to help our country. I didn't want them to pay me, but I wanted them to have a skin in the game. Pay my way to come to Liberia. You know what I got from government officials? They shamed me and said, oh, my man, you're the pay your way to go Liberia. That free transportation won't go Liberia. What they told me. When I offer my service to my nation. And so I keep telling people over and over, we are in this for the people who don't have the chance to come to America. I do not need a job in Liberia. I refused a job offered to me by alien government because I felt like as a tenure teacher in America, I'm tenure. You think I'm going to leave guaranteed job to go work for somebody who will get very one day, man, we want you no more? I can't do that. I'm going to do that. So I don't want a job in Liberia, but I'm willing to provide my services to my country because I do not believe that providence gives me access to this education because of anything I had done, but simply because providence believed that I would be burdened to go back home and provide those services to my nation. And we still stand waiting and available to help. Whatever government is in charge, because we do not believe that we should hold government to accountable to the point so much that at the detriment of the people. So we are still willing to help our people. We still go back home and help, regardless of whatever government is in place. We will always go back home to help our people.
Oh, I think what you did tonight.
So go ahead.
I think what you did tonight, so say you kind of like something so that is being killed, you work it up because your story is no different. I was just talking about the late minister of Papua Way, Nyimpan, who was a personal friend. Lived together. He was one of my mentors. Some senators from our county, other county in charge of roads and stuff. He left from here. He went, train young engineers, volunteer. I will come. I will pay my way. You see, this is the problem with our people. They like. And that's why sometimes I get mad with the liberal. These are some of the free things. You learn your hard lesson, went to school, study, and get all your certification together. And they just think that, yes, it should just come as a cadeau. They don't want to pay for it. And that's the thing. It's still happening today. This is how they can blow off opportunity. And that's why, for some reason, politicians are just, their behavior nowadays is just horrible. But I would say, like you said, don't give up. Samson, he went through that, and he's still going through it. They design, send it to the people, tell them to do something. They do it. They don't even give people credit. So this is how these people are so disrespectful to people. And then sometimes he doesn't want to talk. I say, me, I will talk. They turn on your work, they take your work, and they go and give credit to those who didn't even do it. What sort of disrespect is that? And they say they want us to have a vibrant and open society. But I hope you, teacher, politicians, Samson's Tose, ANC analysts, I hope you guys are having this conversation with your potential candidates. Unfortunately, because of the kind of drama that is unfolding, we are not getting this sort of conversation that needs to be kept with these political actors, especially those seeking for the higher offices. What is their plan for education? How much are they willing to invest in education? Health, like you said, are we talking about it? No. Every other day, CPPP, COP, the other one, George, we are doing this, George. Well, okay, George, we are doing X, Y, Z that is ugly, that is terrible. What is your own plan? Let's have a conversation. They are not having it. Everybody advocates. Advocates eventually turn to politicians. I listen to Spoon Network, our brother and friend, commentator, Costa. He said he's going to be contesting for the senatorial seat for Mosorado County. That is quite interesting. And portion of that we're going to be playing it. But just to go the Liberal Progressive, tomorrow we try to mix it up here to give it a different flavor. Tomorrow, the team, all of you got to be here. Master, let me move this banner stuff here.
Who gave you control?
Who
gave you control?
If you talk, I can kick you out right now. So you're talking about who gave me control? Yeah, let me move this here. Massa Washington, a group of women, they are advocates, Liberian women advocacy to end violence in Liberia. They are a group of women. Massa Washington is the founder of Florence Formula Harris. Neil Allison is the former president of the Washington Metropolitan District of Liberian Association, EULA. And Beatrice Kangat Gray is the chair on research. Now, these ladies are going to be here tomorrow. They're talking about their advocates. All right, I love being advocates, but I'm kind of confused nowadays when I hear somebody say they are advocates from Liberia. Is it for political purposes? I don't want to run in that judgment, but I hope guys who are going to be here tomorrow and have this conversation. While this group now ahead of 2023, who are they advocating for? For Kumi, for Joy Weah, for Bweka, for Gonglo, or for who? Because nowadays, Liberia, most of all, we are vulnerable. If you're not part of a political institution, you on your own. Go for your battle. Take it away, the liberal.
Thank you. All right, folks. Again, Samson to Liberian Public Radio. I want to thank all of my guests here this evening, who are not really the guests. They are also part of the show anyway. But I thought we do this here so that at least some of you will come up here when we're having a conversation, disagreement, so you will know who they are. They are not just disagreeing because they hate. They're disagreeing based on policy, and you heard that here tonight. Sissy, thank you very much. Jonathan, thank you. Mr. Soul, thank you very much. And I'll say good night to all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I can't wait when this whole thing starts with Sky FM in Liberia. I think that's where you're going to get really interesting with Sissy and Jonathan on board. Thank you so much, the liberal.
Thank you. Okay, folks, again, the Samson Tour, I want to thank all of you and say thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to leave this with you here tonight. And before I do that, let me just play small music here. No, I'll play something else. All of you that have a birthday or upcoming birthdays this year, next year, this is for you. Or even those of you that already have birthday in the past, this is for you.
Today now your birthday. Now the day where you come to join the people where be no stay.
Okay, folks. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We're going to be getting off here. But this is what I want to leave with you here tonight on a very serious note. Liberia is our country. It's the only country we have. You can come here and naturalize here, but this is not your country. You do it in Europe, it's not your country. Your connection is still there. Every day you talk about Liberia, nothing else. So when we meet sometime, it's better to find out from these young people, where do they stand? What is their position? What do they want? Why are they so much involved? Every night we have show. Jonathan and Sissy will come on. Not that they don't have anything to do. He's a teacher, for Christ's sake. He stays with us here until 11 o'clock at night. So don't you think that you have time? Don't you think that you need to prepare for the night tomorrow lesson? What's about Jonathan? That's a family. But they're here every night for us to discuss what is happening in our home. It's the love of the country. So I really enjoyed tonight's show. I just want to, those of you that are also young women, young men, that follow these people, just so that you will know when they come out here and have some disagreement, so you will know at the back of it, the background aspect of their disagreement. They're not doing it because they hate. They're not doing it because they don't like anything else. But those of you that are out there, we would like to have this conversation from time to time. I will pray that we'll be able to find some young ladies to join us at work, because they also have huge stake in this. It's quite recent, last week. I read on Front Page Africa what the Zoe over there, they refused to put that their razor blade down, affecting young women. They want young women to go to the group all the time. What is your position? Oh, because you're in America, then that means it doesn't affect you anymore. What's about the brothers and sisters that are there? Do you always want them to rely on you, asking you, begging you for money? Since day, I've had 4 or 5 calls. I'm just not picking your call right now. Gone broke. I got money, I'll pick a call. But that's not about it. If we have them to have opportunity to do good for themselves, hey, you're no Liberian people. You're no Liberian people. They are not beggars. It's just that time is rough. Many of you know, with me in the market, Baker Market, in the 70s, they used to sell and send their children to LU. You all know that. Liberians are not beggars. They don't go around begging people. They're very proud people. At times hard. They have family to feed. They have children to send to school. So if God bless them, they got 1 or 2 cousins or 1 or 2 brothers and sisters here in the diaspora, they call you. It's not like they're just sitting down there, don't have no pride. But times are hard. They can't even make it. And here's a sad thing about it. And that will be my closing here. Many of you, and you think, oh, my brother, my sister, they always like to copy you, they're scamming me. No, they're not. They call you. But the fact that you also have experienced life like that. So when they call you, the very first thing that comes to mind, oh, yeah, they can't get it. Because I used to be like that. You will send them money, then you start thinking about, wait a minute, they said this and said that. Why would that? Then you start putting 2 and 2 together. But by that time, money gone. Because when they call you 2 o'clock in the morning, when you answer, your skin trimming. Okay, I'll send the money first thing in the morning. You send the money. Then you start thinking, but wait now. He said this or she said this. What happened? Then you start putting, then you say, what happened here? But because of the fact that you yourself are going through this. When would things change for us? When would things change for people back home to truly, truly enjoy themselves? Even in the 70s, nobody was getting rich. Many Liberians were not rich, but at least they were able to get 1 or 2 cents for themselves and their family. Now the opportunity is there. If we have roads, those kinds of good roads, people from here, the diaspora Liberian, will help that economy. But our people don't see it. And so from time to time, I will try to pick the minds of the gentlemen, the young people among us as we have these serious conversations about our country. From time to time, I will pick their mind to see where they stand. Because by you listening to where they stand, perhaps you also going to come out and try to see where you stand as well. What are your stand on Liberia? What are your praise singer or whatever it is, where your stand on Liberia? Is it positive or negative? What is your position? I want to thank all of you again tonight. This is Samson to Liberian Public Radio. Watch tomorrow. Mr. So will be on, and hopefully we're all going to be on here tomorrow as well. I say thank you and good night to all of you. Good night, people.